So how has the use of education technology, say like third-party applications from vendors like us and others, changed or evolved over the past few years? And how do you see the increase of third-party technology in classrooms impacting student data privacy and security?
So I don't mind starting on this one. This seems to have been my last 3 years. And this is what consumes us. Because as you know, as we were moving to a more digital environment, we knew that this was important and we were working on it. But then we got thrown into COVID. And with the pandemic, what happened is that everything had to be digital. And I would like to say in most cases, our EdTech partners were trying to help. I will say in others, you know, we know that it became a sales ploy, but all of a sudden everything was open free to our teachers. And everybody was using free EdTech tools is like free with free as a puppy, right? So, you know, there's work, you get a free puppy, you're not done your work yet. So when you're thinking about that, it has changed, and it's hard because the idea is I should be able to use anything that I can to support my kids. The problem is when you have free, you're talking about manually uploading student information, no privacy or security checks on the backside, because you don't know which teachers are using what resources. And so trying to, again, the analogy of putting the toothpaste back into the tube is super hard in that aspect. But on the flip side of that, I think one of the things that has been fascinating to watch is with the pandemic and with going home to learn, right? And our parents becoming teacher assistants or facilitators or teachers themselves, what happened is a lot of our parents are a lot more knowledgeable and they're a lot more understanding of, okay, this is what you're using with my kids. How are you keeping them safe in this product? What are you doing with the data? What are the companies doing with the data? You know, how are you using all these tools? And so our parents are starting to ask some really great questions and are wanting to hold us accountable for that. And I actually applaud that as a parent myself. It's really important. But at the same time, you know, it's like this crazy time because now, as David, you mentioned, these cyber attacks are happening all over the place. And quite often they're coming through third-party apps that we may adopt and such. And so the idea of trying to close the holes for a cybersecurity standpoint and keep our student data safe when we know student data is the most desired right now. And you know, when we talk about it, a student's data sold on the dark web or wherever is, you know, hundreds of times more valuable than ours, because a student's data you won't know their credit has been affected for 18 years. One of the things we tell a lot of our parents and our staff when we talk about cybersecurity is the idea that when you do your annual credit checks, you now need to credit check your kids. Don't wait till they turn 18 to do that. You need to take a look at it. Ironically, I got hit. I woke up this morning to identity theft. So I've been on calls all day for my own, you know, from this perspective. So understanding what third-party apps and where our data goes and lives is going to become a literacy that we never had before. And I think, you know, that's something that we have to help our community with as district leaders and state leaders.
Yeah, I think, Marlo, you hit the nail right on the head, right? So the FBI put out that warning a few years back to say just that educators have the most valuable data, but yet we are the most vulnerable. And when you look at it, it's easy for a company or a corporation who's holding personal information because they're not going both ways with the data like we are. And so the FBI has been putting out those warnings, and we all know they don't put out public service announcements lightly, right? And they keep telling us and telling us and telling us. And then the second part of that is that literacy piece. I think that the landscape has evolved into a place now where what are we teaching and training our parents, teachers, students, right? It's no longer we're trying to keep them safe and we're doing everything, right? We need to have the conversation so that they learn and understand how do they keep themselves safe in this environment and in this world that is now so high tech, right? And so in 2018, we came out with the California Consumer Privacy Law, and that really changed our landscape as far as teaching and training our staff and parents as consumers. This is not something that just occurs in the school district. This is not something where we are protecting you guys. You guys have to learn to identify and see the dangers and make these decisions on your own. And now that's trickling into our students with COVID, because now they're at home, like you said, and it's between the parents and the students now to make sure that they're making really good decisions as far as what they are using. So I think this is a shift where we now have to look at our responsibility in this environment as we have to teach. We cannot just say we're doing all of these things and putting all these things in place at the school only. It's now a conversation where we have to teach the students and the parents and the staff how to keep themselves safe in this high-tech world.